So thank you very much for joining. Today's discussion was really intended to be a forum so that those who are managing through the COVID pandemic from a restaurant and food and beverage standpoint could share some ideas about the experiences they've seen, talk about things that have worked for them to be able to successfully manage through the pandemic restrictions, and also to identify some ways that we may be able to further support and how we move forward, especially with the cold weather coming and a lot of anxiety out there about how we're going to be able to manage through the season here in New England. So to start, I figured I would send it around the room and let everybody introduce themselves. If you are not in a municipal position, if you could just highlight what restaurant you're representing, how long you've been open, and the type of business you run. And if you are in a municipal setting, just identify what town you work in and your role there. For those who don't know me, my name is Kevin Calcutt. I am a select board member here in Norfolk, and I also have been working in restaurants for my entire career. I went to school to be a chef. That did not pan out, thank God, but I did work with back of the house operations in hotels in Chicago, and now I work in analytics and deployment for restaurant software. So I have been able to see the impact of this on our industry front and center. So from there, I'll toss it over to Blythe.
Blythe Robinson, I'm the town administrator.
Blythe, you are on mute.
Oops. Says I'm.
She was not on mute. We could hear her fine.
Nope,
Oh.
That is me who is on mute. I can't hear you.
I'm usually half a step behind on these, but no, Blythe Robinson, town administrator here in Norfolk.
Jeff Johnson, a member of the select board in Plainville. I do not work at restaurants, but I eat at them.
Chuck, go right ahead.
Chuck Horn. I own the Eaglebrook Saloon. I've been in business. This is our 39th year. I've been in Norfolk.
Thanks, Chuck. Jonathan, go right ahead.
Jonathan Cox, the Capital Public House in Rentham. I've been here 5 years in December.
Thanks, Jonathan. And the only other member who is noted as iPhone, go right ahead.
Sorry about that. My name's Olivia Carver, and I'm from the Chieftain Pub in Plainville. We've been here since '95, and my parents opened the place, and my sister and I are now running the place.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Olivia.
Thanks for having me.
Very welcome. So I had sent out this structured agenda that took us through some high points with questions to get the conversation started. But given how concise our group is, I don't know if we necessarily need to be as rigid about the course of conversation as to follow that guide. So that being said, I'd probably open it up at this point so that those who work in restaurants or who manage and own them can talk a little bit about the restrictions and the impact that it's had on your business and how you've managed to, keep operating through them, or what's been specifically keeping you from doing so in terms of those restrictions. So Chuck, go right ahead. Why don't you kick us off?
Well, when we closed down on the 16th of March, that was kind of scary, but we did open back up, starting with takeout, and then going into the state let us have our own beer, which we weren't allowed to sell, but we sold 64-ounce growlers. And from there, we went to outdoor dining. We got permits from the town to put a tent up. And we also have a deck upstairs, which we use anyway as part of our seating. And from there, we went indoor and outdoor. And then didn't really seem to work out real well for us. We did get that PPP money, which was quite a bit. But no one really was able to explain to us, and we still have yet to find out how much money we do in fact owe on that money, which was one of the main reasons why we shut down, because we were getting ourselves further and further in a debt hole. So we shut it down for a while. And when you do that, obviously rumors fly like you're selling, you're going out of business, somebody got sick. None of those were true, but we did decide to open back up and start with takeout on a slower basis, trying to pay down our meals tax, which we haven't paid since February. And we hope to reopen soon, with, the safety precautions in there, but obviously we'd love to get our bar back. We did have it open indoor with tables at the bar, but it's nothing quite like having a full bar where people can congregate. So that's where we're at right now, just doing takeout.
And how long were you closed for, Chuck, in that interim period?
In that interim period, probably 5 weeks.
And how would you say that business has been since you reopened for takeout?
I would say business the first week was pretty good. The last 2 weeks are a little bit slower. People are just glad to be, they really say they're glad you're open, but they really want to come inside. And we just don't feel safe enough right now to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But we do expect to do it shortly, maybe with more of a limited menu. I mean, we obviously have a pretty good structure upstairs and downstairs with private rooms. And we would like to get the bar going, but hopefully soon we'll get it going.
Great news. And I mean, the story that Chuck just shared, I mean, just from my experience in working with a couple of nationwide restaurant companies, is pretty much the same the world around. You know, everybody was trying to adapt as much as possible when the restrictions first came out. And then, you know, as restrictions are lifted little by little, people try to fit that into their business model. And in some cases, it just doesn't work. Actually, in most cases, it doesn't work these days. So understand the frustration and seeing it pretty commonly around the world right now. So that's unfortunate, but I'm glad to hear that at least you're making strides to being able to get back up to a working volume. John, that seems kind of similar to your story. What about from your perspective?
Yeah, it's very similar. You know, when, like I said, March 16th, we all know what happened there right before St. Patrick's Day. And, you know, I think the biggest thing was the unknown. It started out as a 2-week bend the curve type of thing. And so we didn't close. We did do the takeout, which was, you know, I got to credit my staff. It was extremely difficult. We were never a big takeout place. We had to add phone lines. We had to redo the website. We did try the DoorDash for a couple of weeks, but the numbers, you know, for us just didn't work with the percentages that they were taking. Right. So we hired our own delivery guys trying to put some of our bus boys to work. You know, all the college kids were back home, which usually wouldn't be home until, you know, May. So we tried to get them some work. I was able to keep a handful of key staff members that have been with me for 3 or 4 years, you know, working. We did limit our hours. You know, instead of being open all day, we were open 4 to 9, I believe. Not open on Mondays. You know, I think the biggest thing is the unknown. You know, the PPP money did come in, and like Chuck said, it was a good amount of money, and it helped. But at the time, you know, they had these regulations set with a time frame it had to be spent, and you had to bring back X amount of employees, and the way it could be applied to utilities and rent. You know, and we did all those things, and we did it. You know, I feel like we did it the right way. And then since then, there's been, you know, really no support. You know, we've been very fortunate with the patio, which was in place. You know, I know a lot of restaurants have done an amazing job trying to make some sort of a patio to get that crowd. But like Chuck said, without the bar, you know, you look at our numbers, you know, food, the percentage of food that we're off is manageable. It's the liquor. When you're down 30, 40, 50% on the bar sales, that's when it starts to hurt. We're just, you know, we're fighting through. Like I said, we haven't closed. We've adapted. The unknown, still the unknown going into this winter season. I go from, you know, 25 tables down to 6 right now, with a bar that fits 12 with no one standing next to them. And the other thing that I don't think people outside of the restaurant industry understand is the investment we're making to try and fulfill the guidelines. You know, plexiglass and now, you know, the space heat is trying to extend that season. Right now, patio will be winding down. You know, we need to get another 3 or 4 weeks out of that patio because my business is pretty much seasonal. You know, the patio represents a big portion of my yearly revenue. So there's a huge investment, and we're investing, you know, and spending. We're doing an expansion right now, trying to get ready for the winter time. But it's just the unknown. You know, like Chuck said, you could have people at the bar. You know, I joke with my customers. It looks like, you know, MCI Norfolk when you walk in there because there's plexiglass between people, in front of people. I'm just, you know, you're better off getting a phone to bartender to talk to a customer. So when the season turns, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, unfortunately, I think we're all in for a bumpier ride. because those liquor sales and the late night liquor sales, that 9 to 11, 9 to 12, people go to Luciano's or go down and see Chuck at the Eaglebrook and they come here for a drink or vice versa. We're not getting any of that.
No.
We've tried to do the late night menu, the snack bites to fall within Governor Baker's guidelines. So we're selling those at $5. Yes, we're in the guidelines, but now it's another kitchen guy staying there for an hour and a half at $20, costing. It's just the investment to try and fulfill some of these guidelines is difficult. And you look at the numbers you're bringing in and it's like, where's the end? And I think that's the scariest part for a lot of us is we don't know anything. Is this January? Is it February? Is it going to go backwards? Where is the support from the state? Like I said, they came out with a nice program. I think the program now is a lot different than what was sold to us. I remember the paper I signed for the bank was blank. And I said, well, they go, they're telling us just sign it. We don't know the interest rate. We don't know the details. So we all did. And now they're telling me we're going to owe a third of it back, a fourth of it. That's a lot of money. I have been fortunate enough to keep up with the meals tax and try not to kind of kick the can a little bit. But like I said, that patio was fortunate. Coming into November, December, January, I'm going to be in a different situation. This addition hopefully will be open in November, and that will help. Additional 8 tables. But I think, and I've talked to you a lot, Kevin, I think our frustration is just we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's around the corner. We have staff that relies on us and that we want to keep, and we're trying to keep them. And it's been a stressful 7 months to say the least. But I guess we're all here, and I think we have a good community with Norfolk and Rentham, and Jen down at the Rooster and Parkers, where we all kind of work together and try and help each other. So I've learned a lot through I never thought I'd know how to do takeout the way I do, or phone line, or internet, or delivery people and stuff we never had to think about. So that's a positive. I just wish I could have done it on our own pace, I guess. But
Yeah.
That's my little spiel.
No, and I appreciate that. Thank you. And, I think what people outside the industry don't realize is how thin the margins were in a successful business before any of this happened. So you add in all of these extra costs associated to meeting these guidelines on top of reduced volume, on top of the best margin item within your restaurants being your liquor, beer, and wine being completely backed out of the equation. And it makes it almost unlivable. And everybody's just kind of doing what they can to survive at this point as opposed to thrive. And it's not exactly the best situation for a business owner or somebody who depends on that volume for their income. Olivia, would you like to share a little bit about your situation?
Yes. Well, everything that I'm hearing is, it's something I live every day as well. Where the unknown is the biggest problem. You can fight and you can do it every day as long as you know that around the corner things are going to get better. But when you don't know that and you don't have that certainty, it's hard to keep spending money and making adjustments and tweaking the business and changing the business to suit, to meet all the requirements when we don't know if we're going to be told in a week or a month or in 3 months that we have to close our doors again. So the unknown is the biggest stressor for us. We did close, March 16th. That day will never be forgotten. We did close for the 3 months. We tried to do the takeout, and hats off to you, Jonathan. Every time I drive by or did, I say, how's he doing it? Because it's not easy. It's a whole different business model than what we were used to. We tried and failed. And so we did close for the 3 months. We reopened in June under the restrictions and guidelines. And since then, we've had the support from the community. We have had people coming out, but again, it's just without the liquor sales for the late night, without the bar, and the restrictions, and also people just being generally worried to come into the building and afraid. Our numbers are way down, and I don't know where this winter is terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. We did convert our parking lot into a patio. So that was helpful. We added a bunch of tables. We've had live music out there. So that was great, but that's coming to a swift end. So we have we've tweaked, some tables that we have on the back patio to be able to winterize those. So we've added those, but it's very concerning going forward.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's not made any easier by, if you ever gone out to eat on a patio in California, God forbid the weather drops below 65 degrees, people need those heaters out there to be able to stay comfortable and survive. Those heaters are not easy to come by right now here because they were scooped up faster than you can imagine. So even those kind of measures to be able to extend the outdoor season in New England has been kind of taken out from under everybody's feet. So doesn't make it any easier for sure. Blythe, anything that you'd like to add from your perspective in terms of town government or management of these processes or adhering to these guidelines?
Only just that we've had our own challenges getting information from, above us from the state level that we then in turn have to turn around and interpret for you and for everybody. I know we threw together regulations for extending, licensed premise areas outside in, a day, just to try to offer that to restaurants. And it's been hard to sometimes get the clarity we need to be able to give it to you, because we'd like nothing better than to make it as easy as we can and impart helpful information quickly. So, that hasn't gone as swimmingly as we would have liked. And it would be, I agree with you. I think winter is going to be very concerning when you're all not able to serve as many people as you need to, and maybe not at the bar also. I don't know what else we can do to help promote what you're trying to do. I think that would be, our website isn't great, but we tried to keep up with, the restaurants that are open and what they're doing or not doing so people can find that. But if you have any other ideas of ways we can help make people aware of what you're doing and what you'd like them to know about, I think that would be good for us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Blythe. Jeff, anything that you'd like to add?
Nothing in particular. I'm worried about winter as well. I do have, I guess, one quick question. Do we have restaurants in our communities that are unable right now to get heaters? That maybe that's something that will help them for a couple months if I can find a source.
I'll toss that to Chuck, Olivia, John. Have you guys attempted to get heaters and not been able to do so? I've heard from others that they haven't been able to do so.
This is John here. I was able to secure 4. I got them out of a Lowe's in Florida, Tampa. I was able to talk to the guy into shipping them up. So we're all right on heaters for outside. But I mean, the heaters are great. I think they're more mentally, people think they're hotter than they are. They don't really crank out too much heat. We've done some things. We bought a bunch of blankets that we logoed. So we're selling non-logoed blankets for $5 and logoed blankets for $10. Like I said, just trying to do anything we can do to extend this. If we can get to Thanksgiving, I'd be ecstatic. We haven't been able to do that in the last 4 years. So, but yeah, I mean, the heaters were fine. It's in the blankets we've ordered. So just trying to think outside the box, different things. But I appreciate the offer.
The blankets was a great idea. I happen to know a place that has shut their heaters, has shut down for the next 3 or 4 months, and their heaters are probably sitting in a room somewhere. And I'm wondering if if it makes a big difference to one of our restaurants, I can make some calls and see if there's any way we can lease those out for a couple months.
Jeff,
I think that's a help. It's a help for October, November, but I know January won't matter, sadly.
That's it. We're all set for heaters right now ourselves. But Jonathan, I might steal the blanket idea. I think that's very clever.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things, talking about costs that we all absorb, every day I'm buying $100 worth of propane.
Yeah.
It's another thing on the list that you get the call from the bar manager, like, we're out of propane. It's 7 o'clock at night. Like, God, I got to go get propane, but that's $20 a tank refill and 5 a day. It's $500, $600 a week. So it's another thing that just adds to it. I mean, we're grateful to have them, but it's still another cost that we're all trying to absorb somehow. But
If
yes,
I may ask a
stay on the
question,
blanket idea, absolutely. I
um,
did.
to Jonathan and Chuck, perhaps, I've heard of restaurants and places adding essentially a COVID fee, 2 to 3% tab, adding it onto the tab. Have you guys heard of this? Have you thought about implementing it, or are you trying to absorb costs other ways?
I'm unmuted. I'll jump. I have heard of it. I've read a bunch of different reviews on restaurants that are doing it versus aren't doing it. We're not doing anything like that. I think, in the long term, I think it hurts me personally. I think it kind of hurts. We're all independents and we're all got relationships with the communities, and a lot of our customers are ones you see 2-3 times a week. So I'd rather fight through this and not add the pennies to the bill. I guess. I mean, to add 1 or 2%, you got to do a lot of business to make it impactful, on your bottom line. So we're staying away from it.
Okay, thank you.
Chuck, you're on mute. Hey, Chuck, I think you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Sorry.
There you go.
Okay. I was just saying that I hadn't heard of that, but that would be something I would agree that I wouldn't pass on either. Just being in the community for so long, we're more family oriented. I wouldn't want to pass that on to people. I really wouldn't. They're trying to help us as much as they can.
I agree with that. That's why we haven't implemented anything like that. But I keep hearing it, and I'm sure like you guys, you're nickel and diming everything like we are. It's all about the bottom line right now. So any ideas that could be potentially helpful, I'm open to. But I also don't want to, same thing, family business. Our customers come in 2 to 3 times a week. I don't want to pass that on to them either, because I want them to come in when we get through this.
Absolutely. One other thing I was going to mention too, I heard the payroll protection program mentioned a couple of times, and the questions that are out there about how that's going to work looking past this year. Have any of you applied for a forgiveness for that loan at this point? I believe they started accepting, the Treasury issued directions to start accepting forgiveness applications for that money as of sometime earlier this month. Is that something that either of you or any of you are aware of?
Well, we haven't done it as of yet. I mean, we've spoken with our accountant, and everyone has a different story. Initially, the application for forgiveness was 1 page. Now it's 12 pages, and you talk to your banker, your accountant, you get different answers, like how much you're going to owe. We hear a third, totally forgiven. Totally don't believe that. But I mean, we just like to know. I mean, we need an answer. It's the same thing with meals tax. I'm not saying I don't want to pay my meals tax, but if there was some kind of forgiveness there, even for the state to step up and say something like, maybe forgive partial portions of your meals tax, I think that would be a way to help too. But I just don't know. I mean, the way they fight it out in the federal areas, nobody seems to have an answer. I don't think you could ask your local or state or federal representatives, and they won't be able to tell you either right now. That's the way I feel anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think for that, we have to, each town has to vote to adopt it. So I think we'd have to take the action to go to a town meeting and unadopt it and then change it back again. I'm guessing we haven't looked into that yet, but it's not something that we can just call the state and say, hi, turn off the collection for, Norfolk restaurants for 4 months or whatever it is. And we don't have that authority, the board or myself on our own.
Correct. And I think it should come at a state level. I'm not asking for forgiveness for the town of Norfolk.
Oh, sure.
I'm asking for everybody. I think they really should consider it. I really do. But hopefully we'll see.
I will say that I did see they reduced the application from the 12 pages it was before, Chuck, down to 2 pages it is now. But that's
Okay.
for right now. That might change before we get off the phone, so don't quote me on that.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I do appreciate everybody's insight as it pertains to, where we are right now and how we've gotten to the point and survived and managed through at least the spring and the summer of this whole thing. But now I'd like to talk a little bit more about, what the plans are going into the fall and the winter. I know that, Jonathan had talked about the expansion going on to hopefully be able to sit more people inside. Chuck, I know that you had said that you'd be looking to open back up for indoors, but at this point, you don't really have a plan for that just yet. But looking more deeply into how you'd be able to connect the dots to make that work, are there specific things out there, whether it be enhancements to current programs or whether it be new initiatives that are at the top of your mind that may be able to make that more feasible? I think we started with Jonathan last time. Olivia, anything from your perspective?
This is what keeps me up at night, trying to come up with ways to help the business get through this winter. Before coming to this meeting, I've been, thinking about ways that we could ask for help. I'm not afraid to ask for help, and I'll take it when we can get it. But it's I'm not sure how we can be helped. I really don't, aside from either the meals taxes, getting a break there, like Chuck said, or, something maybe as simple as getting a seal of approval from the town saying, we're up to code, we're meeting all the requirements, it's a safe place to visit and to be indoors, something like that. I don't know if the town, any of the towns would ever do something like that, but maybe that would help keep patrons' minds at ease that we are doing everything that we're supposed to.
Yeah, kind of just like a validation that all of the guidelines are being adhered to in some way, shape, or form. I just don't know if the towns are necessarily the authority to be able to identify that at this point. Some boards of health are more involved in the process than others, but a lot of that is really just variable at this point. I don't know how much of it is actually like set in stone and defined clearly so that there would be a clear enforcement agency that would be able to do that. I don't know, Jeff Blythe, if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is let's say we authorized our Board of Health and a member of the Board of Selectmen or whoever to go out and slap a seal of approval on places. What does that say to the places we don't put a seal of approval on? Should we be shutting them down because they're deficient in some way? That's a hard question. I love the thought. I just don't know how to implement it.
And I think that I heard from a restaurant owner that's not on the call is the frustration, not that they weren't doing or aren't doing everything they should, but the errant customer who comes in and won't wear their mask from the table to the bathroom, the things that are really hard for you guys to control and are not really completely in your control, but might make others uncomfortable. We might come in might send a quote inspector one day and everything's awesome. And the next day, Mr. and Mrs. Smith come in and they're not going to follow the rules. And then someone wonders about the validity of what we just said, or what you're doing. It really isn't a fair snapshot. So I don't know how to navigate that in a way to be helpful,
Can I ask that question of the restaurant owners here? How cooperative have patrons been? And do we need to do more as towns to help educate around behaviors that are supportive of safe practices and safe dining practices?
I'll jump in on that one. When we were open, it was a struggle, to be honest with you. We have a lot of patrons that really did not believe in mask wearing. And if you politely ask them, they would be angry, some of them, honestly. Some of our better patrons went along with all the rules, put the masks on, but then when they get up to leave the table, they should be putting them on if they have to go to the bathroom or they have to go out to their car or whatever. But some people just really still do not believe in them. I see it even now with the takeout when they come in to pick up takeout, and we really don't let them in the building. Some people do come in to pay, and they'll always have an excuse, or they'll pull their shirt up over their face, or they'll say, "Oh, I forgot my mask." But it is a problem. It really is. I mean, I think there are a lot of people out there that really believe that this is on the downside. It's almost over, and now we're hearing that there's an uptick, and it makes us pretty nervous, working inside.
I would agree with what Chuck's saying. For the most part, people are generally cooperative, and we haven't had much issue. But it is when they're leaving, they do forget to put it back on. They've been sitting for an hour and a half with no mask on, feeling a bit normal because they're in a restaurant. So just having them to remind them, and the staff are all dialed in, and they'll ask them to do it. They don't love doing it, and they shouldn't have to, but they do. And most people are, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot." So you do have your one or two a week that just outright will refuse. And unfortunately, we've taken the point stand that we just refuse them service. Even if they quote a medical issue at this point, I'm trying to protect our staff and our customers. So we've had to ask people to leave because of it, which turning away business right now is a hard thing to do. So that's where we're at.
I agree with the others. Overall, it hasn't been too much of an issue. I agree with Chuck where, and I hope this is kind of what he was getting at, was it's almost some of the regulars and the ones that feel at home at the place try and treat it like their home, and those are the ones that, "Oh no, it's just me," and it's like I understand that, but I have 20 other people that, and the law is the law. And then there's just some people that don't believe in the mask at all, and I've seen it. I've interjected in it where it's very hard for a high school young girl, a guy, hostess, or a waitress to go up to a 50-year-old couple and tell them about masks on. It's just an awkward situation. But we do. We have masks here, and if they forget them, we offer them one. If they don't accept it, then they don't get seated. But overall, it's been pretty good, and the staff's been on top of it. And I have to give them credit, wearing masks all summer long themselves and in the kitchen. I don't know how they did it. But overall, it's been pretty good. It's the ones that think that bar stool is theirs, that the rules don't apply. I think that's kind of the business as a whole. But we're past that now. So the masks haven't been a big challenge for us.
Then you layer in on top of that those who feel that they should take to social media to complain about an individual establishment because of the enforcement of these guidelines, which are only intended to protect everybody, and feel the need to put negative feedback out there in a time where every cover counts. It's difficult. It's a difficult environment to navigate for sure. So back to the original point. Thank you, Jeff, for bringing that up, because I think I did have what kind of feedback have you gotten on my agenda that I've completely abandoned at this point. We had been talking about what kinds of things could be done to help connect the dots or bridge the gaps that exist to be able to execute operations in the late fall and early winter. Are there certain restrictions out there that could be relaxed that would have a great impact? Are there certain guidelines that are out there that even if one or two of them were lifted would yield an incredible return back? Something that could be focused on as a great trigger to yield some benefit in terms of operational volume. Is there anything out there on the top of your mind that sticks out to you? Don't all talk at once, please.
No, I'll jump in. And Kevin, you and myself have discussed this a little bit. I don't see much moving either direction. We do have the bar seats back, which is a big plus. But I think that food requirement, I know why the governor did it, but I just don't think it was applied to real restaurants. I think it's more applied to your bars in the city. Tell 4 guys after a round of golf that they can't come in at 2:30 and have a beer. about ordering food, or at 9 o'clock at night when I'm trying to shut the kitchen down, I lose those 2 or 3 hours at night. I understand the thought behind the rule. But again, it's just costing us more money, and it's limiting. Like I said, if someone wants to go down to Luciano's and have dinner and then come up here and watch the end of the game, they know they can't, because we're going to enforce it. And that's another, my staff's had more problems with that than the mask, requiring people to order food. So I think that, right, I don't see anything else changing. And I think that's the next little step I can think of.
Thanks, John. Chuck, Olivia, anything on your mind?
Well, we were thinking that, hopefully when we open back up, maybe we would open up just by maybe doing small, parties up in the room, which would be like, I don't know, a baby shower or a bridal shower with like 10 to 15 people, or just to try to ease back into it. And also maybe with our takeout, trying to do larger catering things, although there aren't big parties out there, but there are family gatherings where people can do larger quantities of items. But I kind of agree with that about, letting people just come in and have a drink or two and without the food restriction. But, Charlie's pretty adamant about that. And I mean, I understand his point there too. I mean, there are liabilities involved with that too. So I get it. And we don't do as much of that late night business, kind of more family oriented right now. But when the games are in town, we got a Pats game at the stadium or whatever, people do. They want to come out and they want to, have a beer or two, and, you're trying to make money any way you can. And that's the best part right there, the bar. So.
Absolutely. How about Olivia, from your perspective?
Yeah, I agree with the guys. There's definitely a difference between, a bar serving people just beers and a restaurant. We're a full service restaurant. So for us to be able to turn away those, guys that, like Jonathan said, just wanted to have a beer after a golf game, or girls meeting for, a glass of wine, or coming in for music bingo, and they just want to have a drink, and now they're being forced to spend money that maybe they don't have, and it's putting them off coming in. So it's that's something that I really think there should be a kind of a difference between a bar and a full service restaurant. It's situational.
No, completely agree. It's just, I don't know how you would differentiate that, because then every college bar in the world will start coming out and saying, well, we've been serving popcorn and pretzels forever, so that makes us a full service restaurant. And then, finding somebody who's going to enforce that becomes even messier. But I agree. I mean, I think that lifting the restriction on the sale of LBW would probably be one of the most impactful things that could be done to not only assist with the volume perspective, but also with the margins that we had talked about before. If you have that balance of that revenue coming in to offset what you're doing for takeout, in addition to all the extra costs for takeout containers, like the super cool ones that John has at Gavel. My God, those taco holders are incredible, man.
Thanks. They're not cheap. I've learned a lot about takeout containers too.
Yeah.
Go just real quick on what you said about, just differentiating up against a bar versus a restaurant. I mean, it's easily done with just your food to liquor ratio. Every year we got to present an audit to our insurance companies and everyone else that, if you're above 40%, food to liquor, then you're a restaurant. If you do 5% food to 95% liquor, you're a bar. And those are all available. I mean, we do it every year for the insurance purposes. So, I mean, I get what you're saying. Like I said, I understand the mindset behind it. But I think it's obvious who's, especially in the suburbs, I mean, who's a restaurant. I think we're all restaurants in the suburbs. We're not a North Station bar that slings Bud Lights at every Bruins game, and that's 90% of our business. And those are very successful places. That's not what we come in every morning and do. So, like I said, it's not a huge revenue generator, but it's something, and it takes another stress level off the staff of, if you did everything perfectly right, and we try to, they're not supposed to get a drink until they have their food. So now they're sitting at a table waiting for their nachos that they didn't want to spend the $14 or $12 on, and they're sitting there. But normally it's, you get around the drinks, you give them a minute, they order their food.
So it's just, it's harder, like I said, it's harder on the staff, and there is some revenue there, especially after the 8:30, 9 o'clock. If, football's on, or at the time basketball or hockey was going, which hopefully will start back up again. And it's just, I think they could do it if they wanted to. I think it's a pretty easy thing. If you get caught, serving without food and your numbers don't jive, you get a fine. So that's my spiel.
Thanks, John. Blythe, Jeff, from your perspectives, I'm sure that you've heard feedback as much as I have from different owners about their frustrations or things they're trying to do. What kind of things out there do you think could be enhanced or tweaked to be able to provide some extra leeway for restaurant owners as we go into the next season?
That last point has been one that has been on my mind for the last couple of weeks. We need to lobby and push on that, because I think that's a relief point for a lot of restaurants. I think it helps you with the late night stuff, especially. I don't know what we can do about bar seating, because I recognize that's a high margin. That's your high margin sales, and you want to leverage it as much as you can. I just struggle with how we increase the patronage there without running extra risks in terms of COVID and COVID transmission. And that I really struggle with. I don't know how to get more people around that bar safely.
I haven't been out to eat as much as I'd like, but I'm almost cautious. It's strange to say that the few places that my husband and I've been out, nobody's been enforcing you must have your food before you get your drink. It's kind of strange. I know that that's the rule, but I haven't seen it happening. So I'm not suggesting people break it, but I think it's rather uneven what's happening out there. And I've never been able to grasp how getting your food before your drink has anything to do with being safe COVID wise. So I'd like to see that change too. I guess the only other thing that I think would really help, but it's above us to decide, is if the numbers at some point in the winter start to trend better again, could the state consider a percentage indoors higher than 25%? Could it creep up to 50? I know that's not going to help every location, but it might help some. If the numbers go back low again and stay there, would that make a difference? Those are my suggestions.
Well, I'll toss that over to Chuck, John, and Olivia. Even if the restriction for seating indoors was upped from 25 to 50%, does that have a big impact on your forecasting and what you'd be able to feasibly execute going into a period where you'll have no outdoor seating?
Well, I would still worry about the safety issue myself personally. I put my staff in the front lines there, and you want to make everything safe for them as well as the customers. So, I really want to be absolutely sure, hopefully, like Blythe said, if the numbers go down and everything seems to be getting better, or maybe there is a vaccine not that far away. I don't know, probably not, but it's a safety issue for me. We're putting, I'm bringing people back and I'm telling them I'm going to protect them, and I just want to make sure it's going to be safe, and bring, going up to, I'd love to get the bar back. The bar is the most important thing, but, I can't have, bar stools, tables really close together. My staff is going to say, well, what are we doing? It's a fine line. How do you explain it to your staff? How do you explain it to your customers? I just don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I think there needs to be more of a safety issue. And that's why we're kind of really hesitant about opening back up,
Yeah, because even with a lifted restriction, or even with the bar being opened back up, you're still not going to have the quintessential 4-deep bar at Eagle Brook that you have to swim through to get anywhere in the restaurant on any given night, right? Yeah. So it's not going to be that full tidal wave back of the volume that you'd experienced before. It would obviously be metered. but it would still be something nonetheless.
Definitely, yes.
Olivia, John?
I'll jump in real quick. For us, and I may be wrong, it's changed so many times. The occupancy is one aspect of it, but it's my understanding as long as you have the 6-foot separation between tables, that might supersede the occupancy and or plexiglass around the bar. You can have seats closer. So I'm not. The 25% isn't really an issue for me. We did have to remove, about a third of our tables, but without investing to gain another. I mean, my inside is small as it is, so invest another $1,000 in plexiglass and those types of things to bring in 2 more, 3 more tables. That's not a huge challenge for us as the occupancy, because we are able to space them 6 feet, and between each bar stool is movable plexiglass that can separate each individual party. And like I said, I hope I'm not wrong, but that was my understanding of the guidelines.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well, that it's not necessarily the percentage of occupancy, but as long as you're meeting all the guidelines and adhering to those, that you can have, that's how many people you can have. And that was just a small point I wanted to bring up, is that because the rules change weekly, even daily, and the restrictions and the requirements, it's difficult it'd be nice to have a place to get the information. The mass.gov page is very hard to navigate, in my opinion. So I do feel that I'm constantly struggling to make sure that I am getting the correct information and have everything that I need to run the business properly at this time.
I'll just jump in for a minute. If you're a member, and I don't know if you are, but if you're a member of the MRA, the Mass Restaurant Association, or the NRA, they give you informative updates every night, and they put it in layman's terms, so you don't have to navigate the damn the Massachusetts whatever. But if you'd like, and you send me an email, I can send you that link every night just so you can read it. It's pretty good.
Okay, I'd appreciate that, Chuck. That'd be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just for clarification, when Chuck notes the NRA, he refers to the National Restaurant Association.
Correct. That's correct.
The other one might not be able to help you.
I will not. No, you're right.
So I can tell you, just from my perspective, I'm fairly certain that the towns would agree that the guidance that is provided on the mass.gov website isn't exactly as clear-cut as we would like it either. As those who are frontline and tasked with being able to translate that in some cases, it's equally frustrating.
Yeah, and we spend a fair amount of time pushing out what we get, like from the ABCC, to each of our restaurants.
Yeah, Nancy and Blythe do a good job doing that. That's true from the town.
But I mean, I realize we're sometimes not necessarily being able to translate it for you.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So just to kind of wrap things up, Jeff had said something before that was kind of one of the secondary goals of today's discussion. It's easy for us to, either in one's professional life or in speaking to 1 or 2 individual owners, be able to highlight what we feel is important to push for, whether it be an increase in occupancy, more transparency in the planning, or what have you. But hearing the consensus from a group of people who are in this every day is great for being able to pinpoint maybe 1 or 2 specific actions that we could try to push collectively to try to enact some kind of positive change. And I think from what we've heard today, further discussions about exploration about meals tax, exploring if there is any potential for some kind of validation or public notification that a business is following the guidelines as intended, and then also the sale of only LBW being lifted or being enacted, so that could be a component of the late fall, early winter offerings from restaurants, all seem like great things for us to be able to pursue and align on a singular and collective message about, wanting to see some change. So I appreciate everybody's input and their feedback related to those things. I know that, in some situations in the environment that we're working in, everybody kind of looks to each other to come up with something to push for, to do, to try to make things better. You know, the towns look to the restaurant owners for ideas about ways we can help, and the restaurant owners look to the towns for ways that they can do things to better.
I think we might have lost Kevin.
Yeah, his feed had been slowing down, as evidenced by the picture.
Yeah.
You should snap a shot of that, Blythe, for your next meeting.
Thank you. Good point.
But I think, I think the question he's asking is that,
Support.
we really want. Oh, you back, Kevin?
Uh-oh, what was the last thing you guys heard?
We don't know.
Oh man, that was such an impassioned speech.
You were at the meals tax. I think you were at the meals
Yeah, meals tax. You were talking about trying to focus on a couple things we actually could push for to help.
That was like a good 60 seconds of like golden speech giving right there. I'm really upset about this. Anyway, the gist of what I was getting at was we've been able to highlight some things that we can push for in a collective fashion. It's a difficult situation with the towns looking to restaurant owners for guidance of how we can help them more, restaurant owners looking to the town about ways that the town could be more supportive, but discussions like this where everybody's talking in an open and free manner really help to pinpoint some of those collective initiatives. So I really appreciate everybody jumping on and speaking.
So are we, while we wait for him to return, is the big push that we could help with putting some pressure on for relaxation of the food with liquor sales? Is that the big one? Secondarily, some help on meals tax?
This is one of the questions that I was going to have for Blythe. I don't know if it's possible, but the meals tax, the 0.75% of the town, I think it's every town gets that, would help. But I think coming into this time of year, and I don't know how each town does it. I know in Rentham, I pay a fee for my liquor license, my entertainment license, my occupancy permits. Is there a way, and I know you're not going to love this question, but is there a way to waive that for Chuck?
So
It's a couple $1,000.
Look at that, and what we've always understood, unless the state changes it, that if you don't renew your application, then you have to start all over with a brand new application for a license. So
would that go for the fee too?
So the fee, I think we'll have to investigate a little bit further, whether we can lower the fee for a period, or waive it or whatever. Certainly every community budgets a certain amount for those things, and that's an impact if it doesn't come in. And on the meals tax, as I said at the beginning of the meeting, that's probably harder to deal with because the town meeting has to vote on that to accept it. And, I think most communities now have across the state, but I think you probably have to take the same action to go to a town meeting and vote to unaccept it. So that's not something you just do, next Tuesday. It's a little more complicated.
Would that go for the fees too? Would that be a town?
I think that the fees are something that's easier to amend. I think that's probably a select board decision to say, right, hey, we're going to lower the fee this year from X to Y, or eliminate, or, whatever. We'll need to double check with the ABCC to make sure they don't have some rule that we're not thinking of on that.
Right. Which fee precisely, John? Are you talking about the liquor license fee, or you're talking about fees for other licenses for permits and whatnot?
Yeah, I don't know the exact figures. I think it just went up last year, but I know coming into December, I'm always writing a check to the town for $2,400 for my liquor license, $100 for my license. Music.
That's about right. Yep.
And I just think in December, and like I said, I'm really speaking on Chuck's behalf, that's $2,400, $2,500, $3,000 that isn't coming out of the bank in December. That's going to the town. And I understand, like I said, Blake might not love the question, but I understand the town's in a tax crunch right now too with property and tax and everything. But it's a decent chunk of change that could relieve some of the stress coming into the new year. Just a thought.
Oh, thank you for that.
It's something worth thinking about. It's painful for the towns because certainly in my town's case, we don't have extra money floating around by any means. But on the other hand, it is important for the towns to help keep our businesses running.
Right.
Mhm.
Kevin, I'm not sure where you lost us, but the question from John was whether or not towns through their select board could decide to amend the amount for some of the licenses that we charge for: liquor license, common vic license, entertainment license, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think I did hear the question in some of the responses. Apparently somebody put a stop talking block around my internet connection, which helps limit the amount of words I say in a public forum, which seems to be working really well. But understood and heard.
That's because of your meeting the other night, Kevin.
So, I mean, with that, I'm not going to go on another tangent because I'll just get cut off again. But I did want to thank everybody for joining and speaking so openly and freely about the challenges you're running into. We appreciate the feedback, and I hope that we could take some of this and be able to come up with a couple of collective initiatives to be able to push for some things to help make things at least a little bit easier as we head into this uncertain season.
Can I ask about one other thing? I heard each of you speak a little bit, or at least two of you speak a little bit about PPP. Is that an item that we should be lobbying for some extension, expansion, change, improvement to that program for a future stimulus bill from the feds? Or
Well, I
was
would
that
say
not
that
useful?
my answer to that would be, I would like to have it simplified because we really would like to know, but we certainly wouldn't take on any more PPP money because we're already, after 40 years, we had no overhead, debt that we had paid
Right.
off. Now we're back in it again. So it would be something to be clarified. It would be better to know going in. Like everyone said, oh yeah, this is great. Let's get in it. Let's get this money. But coming back, I can't help but believe we're not the only people that are going to find this out the hard way. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be angry having to pay back a lot more money than they thought they were going to have to pay
Right.
back.
Right. That's a great point, Chuck. Yeah, we don't know what the feds don't know what the feds are going to do. So,
Correct.
but I just want to make sure if we're asking for things of them, we should make sure we ask for useful things.
Yeah,
So
I'm with Chuck on that. We got it the first time, and I think a lot of us panicked and got it. But I don't trust, just seeing how it was handled, and not getting broadside of money we owe, but I don't trust the feds to do it the way they lay it out. So I personally wouldn't apply for it.
Okay.
I feel the same way. If it came around again, we could use it, but I don't think I would go for it because we really don't know where we stand with owing back what we've already borrowed.
Right.
And we have, there's nobody with answers, and I understand that. And at the time, if we didn't accept that money and take it, we would have gone under. There's no way we would have survived it. So we needed it, but we took it out of desperation, and I'd like to know where I stand with it. But how can we get an answer to that?
Totally agree.
Okay, thank you.
At this point, I'll open it up for anybody that has any other closing, contributions, comments, concerns, anything related to the discussion. You have your time. John,
I'd just
anything?
like to say thanks for bringing us all together, and it was good to be able to talk it out a little bit. So, Kevin, I appreciate it being in our corner.
Kevin, I appreciate it as well, and Blythe, as a Norfolk resident, I know you guys work hard. One thing I did want to throw out there, and I don't know if there'd be interest, is John Higgins from Higgs Tickets is doing a program in Boston where it's a Facebook group that just support small businesses. And what he does is bars in the Boston area, North Station, Faneuil Hall, some of the ones that have been affected the most, financial district, is each Patriots game, he sends out a message, hey, we're all going to be at West End Johnny's, or we're all going to go this weekend to Brandy Pete's or whatever, and just kind of get in people's heads and get a group of 15, 20 people that are going to go watch the game in 5 different places anyways, get them together, get some normalcy back. I'd be willing to look into starting a page like that for, the KP community of all the, 5 or 6 surrounding towns, and we pick a place each Sunday and say, all right, Pat's Denver, we're all going to be at, the Brook if Chuck would open it up, or we're all going to be Chieftain or here or wherever, and just get a group. And that night you're not opening up for nothing. You're going to bring the staff in. People are going to have some laughs, some food. Obviously follow the guidelines. But you just send that message out. If there are any promotions, if it's a bingo night or a music night or something you're trying to promote, just a one-stop shop where the local bars can advertise some specials, or the big thing is the Patriots right now, getting everybody together for those 3 or 4 hours. So I'd be willing to. I'm not the best at Facebook, but I'd be willing to look into starting a page like that for the the KP community or and beyond, within reason, if the others thought it would work or something that they'd be interested in.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
It sounds like a great idea.
Okay, so let me
Yeah,
look at
I'm
that a
on
little
board.
further. Okay, and then we'll communicate amongst ourselves. I'll get your emails from Kevin if that's all right. And like
All
Chuck,
right,
like I
sounds
said,
great.
it might not be worth opening every day right now, but if you knew on Sunday you had 25, 30 people coming, safely spaced to watch a game, might help your staff a little bit and morale a little bit as well.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great idea. I mean, quite obviously, the municipalities would not, as organizations, be able to participate in something like that. But as a resident and an individual, I would wholeheartedly be in on that. So if everybody is in agreement, when I send my recap for this meeting, I'll take everybody off blind copy and include everybody's email addresses so that you guys could communicate between yourselves.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it works for me. Thank you. I'll talk to some others around, like the Rooster and maybe Parkers and Jen and Alex, once things settle down with them, and we'll see what we can do. Just help each other.
And Olivia, I'll
idea.
send you that Facebook feed, from the Mass Restaurant Association too, when I get them.
Okay, thanks, Chuck.
I get the email, okay. You got it. Okay.
Olivia, anything closing from your end?
I just wanted to say thanks to everybody. It was nice getting to know Chuck and Jonathan a little bit. You guys know where I'm coming from, and it's there's strength in numbers, and we're all mucking through this together. So it's nice to get acquainted with you, and to the administration, to Jeff, thanks for always supporting us, and we know you're standing behind us in Plainville, so I appreciate that.
I think we all, from municipal side, we all appreciate what each of you do in your restaurants and how important you are to the community, being a community, not just a collection of houses.
Very true.
Yeah, thanks, Olivia. Thanks, Jeff. Blythe, anything from your perspective? Nope. Yeah, I think to close, I'll echo Jeff's words. Restaurants, these large nationwide restaurant companies that exist in urban areas, they don't really have the level of importance. They're very important to be able to distinguish a culinary landscape for these individual regions in our country. But when you get out to where we live in these smaller communities, these restaurants are staples of how people feel about these individual towns and residents and where they congregate. And so many people are emotionally tied to them, as opposed to just somewhere to go get dinner. So that's why, at least from my perspective, it's so important that we do whatever we can to be able to support you, much as all of you have supported our towns throughout the years. So thank you very much for not only continuing to do that and to fight to do that, but again, your openness to join these types of conversations and be able to find some collective paths forward.
Great. All right. Thanks,
All
guys.
right.
That was
You guys
awesome.
have a great afternoon. Thank you so much again.
All right. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay. Bye-bye.